Good morning, everybody. I'm Shoaib Lahiri. I'm going to be your instructor for the next 15 minutes for this micro teach, and the micro teach will be on the impact of digital forensics during the investigation stage of incident response. Okay, team, thank you. Just before we start, just a quick bit of housekeeping. So can I kindly ask everyone to keep their cameras on so I'm able to monitor attendance and engagement. Secondly, but equally important, team, if you do have any issues in relation to safeguarding, please contact the safeguarding team, or if it's an urgent issue, you can also speak to myself and I will be able to escalate it to the correct department. Thirdly, team, health and safety. This is a 15-minute presentation which you will be looking at a screen. However, during this time, if you do feel any discomfort in your eyes at this point in time from monitor glare, please look away until the pain subsides. And then revisit the material if you need to. Fourthly, team, if you do have any questions, please put your hand up and wait, and I'll be able to address your questions as and when we're going through the session. And finally, and most importantly as well, our mutual respect, team, please have mutual respect for each other. We are IT professionals, and we need to maintain a level of, we need to maintain standards of behavior. So this is a good place to begin. Okay, team. So let's get straight into today's subject, which is digital forensics and the impact it has during the incident response phases. Now, to really understand this, we need to know what the incident response plan is, or the incident response phases are. For this session today, because we're in a short session, I will be focusing just on the first two, which is highlighted in green there. So we're going to be talking about scope and then investigate. So the scope is the first goal, or the objective is to assess the severity of the incident. Secondly, we then go on to investigate what actually happened. So once we've got our scope, we begin investigating by using advanced systems and threat intelligence, as well as staff who are skilled in this particular field to collect evidence to go on to provide in-depth information. So this is what we call digital forensics, and it is found in layer 2 or phase 2 of the incident response plan. So I just wanted to get that cleared first with us. Okay, so let's expand now on digital forensics exactly. So what exactly is digital forensics? Very similar to the forensics that we see on the movies and on TV, where the police are doing forensics to find out what happened in a particular crime scene. It's exactly the same thing with us in digital forensics. The only difference is we will be investigating, collecting and preserving and analyzing digital evidence. So this is going to be evidence from digital devices or anything which is electrically powered. So how do we do digital forensics? Well, there are processes which are needed for us to do our systematic methodological investigation. Okay, so there are 5 to 6 stages, but at this moment in time for this presentation I've compressed it down to 3. So the first stage would be gathering and preserving of digital evidence. So we are methodically collecting evidence and preserving this evidence to maintain its integrity. Now, the integrity word here is very, very important because it makes sure that the evidence is in line with PACE, the PACE Act, which is the Police and Criminals Evidence Act 1984. So it can be admissible in court. And I'll talk about that a little bit further on within our session. Right, so let's move on to the second part now, which is analysis and examination of digital evidence. So one of your roles as a digital forensicist would be to also to analyze and examine the digital evidence. So this would be in-depth analysis of digital artifacts and devices to extract information, identify patterns, and uncover key insights. Now, these digital devices could be laptops, computers, hard drives, tablets, gaming consoles, PlayStations, it could be mobile phones, anything which can hold data on it. For example, it could be videos, it could be photos, it could be instant messaging, it could be a chat log, it could be emails. Anything like that would be deemed as evidence. And finally, and thirdly, the reconstruction of evidence based on the digital evidence. So using the evidence, we then are able to maybe reconstruct what happened and maybe even use simulations of this attack as part of a controlled penetration test, just to check to see if we had any upgrades and done any security upgrades, that they are working. Okay, so we need to be testing. Right, team, so let's summarize quickly on the first 3 slides that we've done. So what is the importance of digital forensics in phase 2 of the incident response investigation stage? Right, so the answer to this is very, very simple and straightforward, team. I've put it there in the green. So it provides critical insights to cybersecurity incidents. It aids in identifying threats and understanding specific attack vectors, and it eventually helps us to establish the scope and gives us an idea of the impact of the incident. So it gives us the bigger picture, which is what we're looking for. We need the bigger picture. We need to be able to connect all the dots and find out exactly what happened so we can prevent it from happening in the future. Right, team, so just to test your knowledge quickly, I've got a quick quiz here for you. So very, very straightforward. The question here is: digital forensics is used to gain evidence from digital devices during the investigation phase of an incident response or stroke incident handling. Team, is this true or false? Right, I'd like you to put the chance into the chat box. Team, you've got 20 seconds for this, okay? Team, do not send your answer until I tell you to send. So you can type it into the chat box and just wait for me to ask you to send. Okay, so you've got 20 seconds from now. Okay, send. Fantastic. Okay, team. Now, let's delve into digital forensics just a little bit more. A good way to start is to start thinking about the challenges and limitations to digital forensics during the investigation stage. And there are 3 main ones. There are many, many more, but the 3 main ones that we are facing right now, as of this point in time, is the rapidly evolving technology and encryption. So as we know, technology is evolving on a daily, hourly basis. Encryption at this moment in time is what we call advanced encryption standard, which is different to what we had maybe up to 20 years ago, 10 years ago, which what we used to call data encryption standard, so which was old encryption. Encryption now is more advanced, so that hence it's called advanced encryption standard. 5 years time, 10 years time, it could be stronger, but at this moment in time, encrypted devices are and rapidly evolving technology are a barrier which is faced by the cyber forensics field. Secondly, team, it's the jurisdictional issues and legal challenges. This encompasses how the different nations view cybercrime. So in America, so in the USA, in the UK, in Europe, we have specific laws which relate to cybercrime and data protection. There are other countries internationally who may not recognize these specific data protection laws or these regulations and so on, so it would be out of a specific jurisdiction. Therefore, if a criminal was in one of the countries which didn't recognize cybercrime, didn't have any data protection laws and had no extraditory treaties with any other countries, then the cyber criminal probably wouldn't be prosecuted in that country, because number one, their national country wouldn't extradite them, and secondly, there would be it just wouldn't go to prosecution very, very well unless it was pushed through Interpol or the CIA or the FBI, something along them lines. It'd be very, very serious. Okay, the third challenge is the availability of skilled experts in digital forensics. So we are currently facing a shortage of staff in the digital forensics field. This is due to the fact that there's so many devices now which are in cyber forensics lab. Now there's piles and piles of them, warehouses of devices which have got evidence on them which need to have evidence extracted, but there's not enough staff to keep up with the pace of the devices which are being put out there. So this is another challenge that we face in forensics, so please be aware of that. There's many job scopes in digital forensics. Okay, team, enough of the challenges and the doom and gloom. Let's look at a little bit something more lighter, a little bit more brighter and positive, and let's start thinking about the benefits of digital forensics during the investigation stage. So what are the benefits? What are the advantages of digital forensics? So first and foremost, it allows us to identify the attribution of the perpetrator. So it allows us to understand, what the motive for the perpetrator was. Was the hacking for financial gain? Was it for hacktivism? Was it for vandalism? This gives us an idea of, why we were targeted. Secondly, it helps to support in legal proceedings. So evidence can be gathered during the digital forensics process, which as long as it is preserved properly and done in the correct way, this evidence can be used in the court of law for prosecution and successful prosecution. So bear that in mind. We will be going on to that. Team, most importantly, when you are doing any kind of data extraction and you are looking for evidence, you are not there to render judgment on guilt or non-guilt. You are only there to extract evidence and ascertain facts. That's it. No more, no less. Right, team. Third one is enhancing incident response and preventing future incidents. So by doing digital forensics, we get an idea of what happened, what vulnerabilities they were, what vulnerabilities were exploited, what we are currently at risk of right now at our current stage, and then we can start implementing security procedures to be able to mitigate any risks and threats from future attacks. Okay, team, well done. Well done for keeping up. Right, team, just before we move on to the next assessment or the next quiz, I just want to just very, very quickly speak to you about where digital forensics can be used. So it can be used in high-profile cybercrime cases to solve cases and find out exactly what happened. It's also used in corporate data breaches. So this is very, very important here. In a corporate data breach, a data breach is the equivalent of loss of money. Okay, not only from financial penalties, but also from the ransom and from the extortion and all the other things which go with it. Okay, so corporate breaches is very, very important that organizations understand what's going on and they can mitigate any particular threats in the future. And finally, it can also be used for law enforcement investigations. So we're going to be using our findings possibly to submit for evidence for criminal prosecution. Now, just before we move on, I'd like you guys to think quickly, and I'd like you to name 3 scenarios where digital forensics is used. So think about the slide we just looked at just now. Okay, before this slide, I'm going to give you 30 seconds to do this, starting from now. Okay, team, well done, well done. So the answers would be to solve cybercrime, corporate data breaches, and in law enforcement. Okay, team, well done. Right, let's now move on to hardware and software and how exactly is the forensics done. So it's a combination of hardware and software, which would be found in the data forensics lab. I've got examples here on the screen of some hardware, which is a SATA hard drive, which is used for extracting data from hard drives. And the software which is used for this is usually something we would be used as called Access Data Forensics Toolkit. There's also the FTK Imager, Ncase, and finally Autopsy. Now Autopsy can only be found on a Linux distribution, so on Kali Linux. So it's quite an interesting tool to do digital forensics with and deconstruct specific artifacts. Right, team, so yeah, I'm just going to move on now. So this is the software and hardware that we use. Now, when we are collecting evidence, the most important thing is the preservation of this evidence, okay, or this data. We do not want this data being corrupted in any way, because once it's being interpreted later on down the line, if the corrupted data is interpreted to be true, then the incorrect protocols will be put in place. So we need to be I need to be very, very clear with you right now. The data must be accurate and it must have integrity. So when we are analyzing and preserving evidence during the investigation stage, the first thing to do is to make a copy or a clone of the hard drive. Okay, once a copy or a clone has been done, the original hard drive will be put into an evidence bag and sealed away. So that's going to be the original evidence or the primary evidence. The copy or the clone which you have made, which is now called the secondary evidence, you will do all of your investigations upon that, team. So make sure you do it on the copy or the clone. Very, very important. Again, it allows us to stay within the Police and Criminals Evidence Act 1984 and to make sure that the evidence is admissible in court. Okay, team, thank you very much. So just a quick conclusion. So through the effective use of digital forensics, organizations can strengthen their incident response capabilities, and it also helps with the apprehension and conviction of cyber criminals. Okay, team, I've got a final quiz here for you to do. So which of the following statements is false? So I'll give you 20 seconds to do this. Team, do not send your answer until I say so. Okay, so when I say send, only then you will send. Okay, team, perfect. Thank you very much. Okay, team, homework before next lesson. What I would like you to do is, first and foremost, research a case online where digital forensics has been used to solve a cyber crime. What I would like you to do is to create a Microsoft PowerPoint presentation with 5 slides summarizing the case. Second part is to download the FTK imager for our lab practicals, which we'll be doing next week and the next couple of weeks. The link is just down the bottom. And the final part is to watch the video on YouTube, which I have put there. I'll put the link there. It gives us a little bit an insight onto digital forensics and incident response. Okay, team, thank you very much for your time. See you next session.